Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I may move, just to warn you, to have leg room.
Madam Clerk.
Councilor Paul?
Present.
Councilor Edwards?
Present.
Councilor Janik? Present. Councilor Edwards?
Present.
Councilor DeMedeiros?
Present.
Councilor Burke?
Present.
Councilor Milburn is absent.
I'd like to entertain a motion to go into executive session. Town Administrator, Rhode Island General Law 46582, collective bargaining, discussion and possible vote on IBPO, Tiverton Police labor negotiations. Firefighters, IAFF Local 1703, Rhode Island General Law 46465A, 2, collective bargaining, discussion and possible vote of Memorandum of Understanding agreement related to wages with the Tiverton Fire IAFF Local 1703.
So moved.
Second.
Yes.
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 Yes,
Yes.
we'll be about 10 minutes, I promise. We're now in open session. I'd like to entertain a motion to seal the minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Motion been made in second. All those in favor? Thank you. Is Danny here? Okay. All right, I'd like to, I'm going to do public comments first. I'm going to invite Representative Jay Edwards and Senator Wally if you'd like to come up.
Did you get the list too?
It's only them, I put it on.
Good evening, members of the council. Senator Felag and I again come bearing gifts. We have a $7,000 grant for the fire department. And he asked for it so long ago, I actually forgot what it's for. So we're gonna let the chief explain what the $7,000 is for.
First off, I'd like to publicly thank Senator Felag and Representative Edwards for their staunch and unwavering support of the fire department. What we're looking to purchase is an inflatable fire safety public education house that we can use for community outreach during Fire Prevention Week and at civic events. So that's going to go towards that.
Thank
And
you.
we knew that the council wouldn't find it in their money, so we got it for you.
Thank you very much.
Chief?
And also, just to let you know that a number of other smaller grants have been given out to various other organizations between the last time we met and this time, so.
Thank you. I'd like to entertain a motion to bring I3 up now.
So moved.
Second.
Motion been made in second. All those in favor? Recognition of Daniel Raymond's retirement. Could the chief come up, please?
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'd like to ask Lieutenant Raymond, front and center, Lieutenant.
He
Wait,
just-
retired, you can't give him orders.
For the
So-
rest of his life.
Yes. It's with mixed emotions that we announce the retirement of Lieutenant Daniel Raymond. So Lieutenant Raymond started at the police department in September of 2000, coming from the Fall River Police Department, and has done the past 24 years with us. Lieutenant Raymond has held the rank of patrol officer, corporal, sergeant, and his retired rank of lieutenant. He was also responsible for enacting the first Citizens Police Academy in the town and been responsible for that. He's received numerous citations and recognitions for his work. And also, I don't think there's a person in town that does not know Lieutenant Dan. The lieutenant and I often joke that when he goes out to shop at Market Basket, where a normal person would take 30 minutes, it takes him 2.5 hours because he knows somebody on every aisle. As you know, and as you approved it during the last meeting, Lieutenant Raymond will not be leaving us. He'll be joining us as a reserve officer, but I thought it would be fitting, as the members and his peers and friends and colleagues are in the room, to see him be honored for his service to the town of Tiverton. So, Lieutenant, on behalf of the police department and the community, thank you. And as a small token of our appreciation, I'd like to present you with this. This is Lieutenant Raymond's badge, all the badges and all the ranks that he's held, along with his badge number, our coin, and our patch. Wow. And an inscription that says, in recognition of your dedication and service to the citizens of the town of Tiverton, Rhode Island, Lieutenant Daniel Raymond, Tiverton Police Department, September 24th of 2000 to April 30th of 2024. Wow. Congratulations, Lieutenant. I believe
Representative
Yeah,
Edwards
front, so
and
you're not done
Senator
yet.
Felag, please.
Keep showering you with accolades, Lieutenant.
Danny, hold it up.
Oh, sorry.
Lot of gold out there. Yeah. Surprisingly, yes.
Jay?
And on behalf of the Senate And the House of Representatives, we have a citation.
Thank you.
Honoring your retirement and your goodwill in your time as serving as a member of the Tiverton Police
Thank you
Department.
so much. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hey, guys, we're going to take a picture with all of
Oh,
you.
yeah, thank you.
Speak, go ahead.
I'm usually not at a loss for words, but I was honored to do what I did for 24 years with the police department. Had some really good people to work for. Deputy Chief Costa and I mean, we basically worked with each other my entire career. Learned a lot from him, learned a lot from the chief. I got to work with, they didn't work for me, we worked together. A great team of people that I have behind me. I couldn't have done a lot of the stuff that I did without them. You know, it was a good time. I really enjoyed my job. I didn't grow up here, but I kind of did.
You did.
I spent half my adult life in the town of Tiverton, and you know, there was no looking back. I have loved every minute of my job. Just it was just time to go, and you know, I'm enjoying my retirement, and
We'll
thank
still
you.
be seeing you
Yeah, you'll
around.
still see me around, but I really do appreciate all the accolades, and I appreciate everybody's time tonight. Thank you so much for doing this. I appreciate it. Thank you, Chief. Thank you.
Danny, we're going to take a picture with everybody, you and all the men.
Yeah, you know what, LT, stand right there.
Okay.
Everybody, come on up.
And women.
And women, I'm sorry.
And face that way, LT.
Isn't the chief going to be in it? I think Chris is the photographer. Yeah.
Yeah, kind of lazy. All right, come on up. Get close.
No, you.
Oh, there you go.
Listen to the woman. Yes. Actually, you guys need to punch in a lot.
Yeah, come on.
Bleed a little bit. A lot more. Let's do this. There you go.
That's the buzz.
Ready?
Who's taking the picture?
Jays.
There you go.
It's my turn.
Oh. Thanks, folks.
All right. I'd like to entertain a motion to bring 10C and D up front.
So moved.
Second.
Motion been made in second. All those in favor? Okay. Did I say,
You want me to make?
oh, wait a minute. I said B and C, didn't I? Oh, I did. I'm sorry.
You're right.
Town administrator, discussion and possible vote to ratify the proposed IBPO Local Number 406 Tiverton Police contract and fiscal impact statement.
So, I will say, at least the 10C,
10B, we're doing
no, that's C, see here.
C. I'm sorry. It's me.
The, There's a lot of hard work working with the IBPO, but it was very cordial. Took a little longer than expected. There was a lot of languages that we did work our way through. But I do think it's a fair contract on behalf of all the members. They've worked very hard, and this should hopefully bring them up to par of their counterparts. So I do know that these are all the tentative agreements that we've made throughout the entire negotiation process. In order to pay them without having to do retros, I'm asking the town council to approve it where it stands. There will be a final version of the contract that will come, but it will emulate every aspect of what has been tentatively agreed to by the members of the union and by the body. I believe that they have, I do have a signed document that they have ratified that as well too. So I do think on behalf of the entire negotiating team with the council and the guidance that the council gave, this was a very, very fruitful contract to move this department forward.
So to echo the words of the town administrator, we've invited the members of the executive board here so they can speak and just talk about how the negotiations went and how this is going to hopefully resolve a lot of our recruitment and retention problems that we're having in the police department. So I'll let Lieutenant Hubert and or Sergeant Perillo.
I know Steve doesn't want to talk, so. I've been in this situation before where I've gotten stuck with it last minute, so I prepared. So for those who don't know me, I'm Ryan Huber. I'm a veteran of 8 years, the day shift lieutenant. First, I just want to, on behalf of the union, thank Lieutenant Raymond for his 24 years of service. Me personally, from the moment I started here, he's been nothing but friendly. He's been a great role model. For me as an officer, I couldn't be more grateful to have worked with him. I can tell you right now, we all miss his jolly personality being around. To say the least, I just wish nothing but the best for him and his family going into retirement, and I couldn't speak more highly about how he has treated not only the civilians of this community, but the officers that he works with. Saying that, we can get into the fun stuff about the contract. I know Denise and Chris, you guys put in excellent work on your end. From the first meeting, you guys saw us, we all came in suits. I thought it was fitting to kind of come in tonight in a suit, to kind of just end this and tell you the real reason why we wore suits. The first, I looked phenomenal in one, so that's how I really want to start off. Secondly, the real reason, the way we perform our job on a daily basis, we actually work multiple roles. We wear different suits throughout the day. First thing in the morning, we wake up and we're parents, we're spouses, and we're family members. The second thing that we do, we're police officers. So we wake up and we go to work, forget about our families, we problem solve, we go and do multiple roles throughout the community. We serve as role models, and we do many things, and that represents the second suit that we put on. Our team that consisted of the treasurer, Steve, I'm the vice president, our union president, Brian Codner, and Danny Martin, who was our previous president and vice president. We put in numerous hours of work. Our main goal was to not only provide for our families and improve our quality of life, but it was also to get compensated for the phenomenal job that we do. I can speak firsthand of the job that the men and women that stand behind me do on a daily basis, and the citizens of this community shouldn't be more proud of the job that we do. I'd also like to thank Denise, Chris, Tim, Jay, Chief Jones, and Deputy Chief Costa. Obviously, this is a stressful process for both sides, but at no point did our side feel that we weren't going to achieve this goal. And I can confidently say on behalf of the union that we did achieve our goals of improving our quality of life and also getting the compensation that we deserve. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to say that it was a pleasure, this negotiations. I've been doing it for 20 years now, and it went very smoothly. Did we disagree? Yes, but it was very respectable. And we got to know each other, and we came to a conclusion that was great. So thank you, all of you, also.
On a motion?
Yes, we need a motion.
Madam President, I move that we ratify the tentative agreements for the IBPO Local 406 contract, subject to signatures by the town administrator and the IBPO president after receiving full contract language.
Second.
Motion's been made second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? There you go. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. On the second matter, it's the IAFF, the firefighters union. I know that there's been a long protracted, very similar stances, that they're very, very excellent staff. They do an excellent job for our community. They work very, very hard. They have some contract issues that had much more issues than what we had with police. We actually, with the council's blessing, we reopened the existing contract and created a memorandum of understanding to facilitate providing, in addition to what was in the existing contract for year 3, another 10% as a good faith effort to move forward. We will begin negotiations tomorrow on the FY July 1st, 2025 through 2028 contract, which there is a lot of language issues that we do need to rectify. And we also, with the memorandum of understanding, authorized what we had put forth was a entry-level salary of $52,000 is now agreed upon. And we will work our way through that process as well. We were paying our people $39,000, $39,000. Other communities are paying $50,000, $52,000, $54,000. This was to put them in the right vein so that we could actually get recruits. So it hopefully facilitated one aspect of the two-part problem was the recruitment problem. We still need to do something on retention. I think the entire council recognizes that. We are working diligently with the union to try to facilitate getting to common ground, and I believe we will do that. So this is another good step on behalf of the community, for our department, for some very good staff who work very, very hard for our community. I would, again, like to thank, I know the chief didn't have an opportunity to get the members to come here tonight, but when we finally get to the final resolution of the next contract, we will bring them in. But I do think it would be best to ratify that contract as well. I know where we're at with that, but we'll put this to bed so we can actually get them paid for the first pay period in July.
I'd like to thank the union members for voting for this. It helps the council move forward. It helps with retention. It helps with recruitment and some of the issues that's very well known to the community. And I'd like to thank them for their vote. Anything else?
Make a motion that the council approve the memorandum of agreement regarding the proposed salary only increases to the IAFF Local 1703 for the period of July 1, 2024 through June 30, 2025.
Second.
Motion been made and second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Okay. Should we do?
Yeah, I'll do her and then.
Yeah, and I have all these people that interview.
Yeah, do the interviews, yeah. There's all the questions, yeah.
All right, I'm going to do the consent agenda really quick. Approval of town council minutes, June 12th, 2024. Regular meeting, June 12th, 2024. Executive session. Acknowledge receipt of minutes from boards, commissions, and committees. Historic Preservation Advisory Board, Personnel Board, and Open Space and Land Preservation Commission. Acknowledge receipts of reports from the town administrator, department monthly reports, June 2024, and town administrator, fire and police overtime reports, June 2024. There is no budget and revenue reports as of yet from the treasurer. I'd like to entertain a motion, or would anyone like to pull anything off?
Madam Chair, I would just pull 6B3. So
We don't have it.
that's, I guess,
Oh,
to table it for the next meeting.
Okay. Motion been made and second to table 6B3.
I'd like to pull 6B2.
All right, let me do this motion first. Do I have a
I'll
second?
second
Okay, motion made and second, all those in favor? All right, Jay, what would you like to do? Would you like to pull anything off?
Yeah, 6B2.
Okay.
Police and Fire Department.
Yep, 6B2. I'd like to entertain a motion to accept the rest of the consent agenda except for 6B2.
So moved.
Second.
Motion been made and second, all those in favor? 6B2. Jay?
All right, so I just want to make a comment about the Police and Fire Department report. There's been a lot written lately that Tiverton is giving more aid to other communities than we than we actually receive. That's not true. So if you were to go through the reports for the past months, you will find that January through June to date, we have given, we've received a total of 37 mutual aid supports. We generally get about 50%, 30 to 50% more than we receive. So that should tell everybody that regardless of what you read in Facebook, the town is covered at all times.
I'd entertain a motion to approve 6B2.
So moved.
Second.
Motion been made in second. All those in favor? Right, Dad, I'm gonna do you soon. I just want to get some, okay. Acknowledge of resignations. Bill Thompson from the Harbor Commission effective 7/9/24, and John Cello from the Board of Canvassers effective 7/12/24. I'd like to entertain a motion to accept their resignation and thank them for their service.
So moved. Second.
Motion's been made in second. All those in favor? Harbor Commission. Bruce Cox is unable to attend, and Dr. Marco Dirks was unable to attend. I don't think Clint is here.
No, I don't see
But he
Clint.
did write us a letter, if everyone saw it. He is moving, but he will stay on to help with the harbor management plan until he leaves town. So he doesn't really want reappointment, but as long as we don't not appoint him, he's still there.
But his term is over.
But his term is over.
Continues to serve until such time as the.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, so I want to entertain a motion to table 8B until the gentleman can join us.
So moved.
Second.
Motion been made in second. All those in favor? Budget Committee, Letitia Moody, 162 Mill Street, request appointment. Is Latasha here?
I'll see.
Did we ask her to be here? All right, so we'll table this one. I have a motion to table.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Economic Development Commission, 5-member board, 4-year term, 1 vacancy, term ending 7/15/2024. Is that correct?
Term ending,
That can't be right.
That's,
what's the correct term?
what's the correct
Gotta be the
term?
term is just ending.
Yeah, it's gonna be 3 years.
Right, but what's the appointment term?
Is it 3 years? 28?
All right, 2028. So it'll be 11/14/2024 to, I'm sorry, 11/4/2024 to 11/4/2028. Am I right? No, 7/15.
7/15/24 to
Go ahead.
7/15/28.
Where are you, Renee?
No,
You're
three-year
the only
term?
one here and you're loud.
Three-year, oh, 4-year term.
Ask me questions.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I just,
I thought I'd grab my notes just in case.
no, I want to thank you for everything you've done.
We're gonna grill you, Renee.
Yeah,
I always have to write something in my
Yeah,
red books.
just tell us why you want to be reappointed,
Really.
really.
Just help them.
Oh, she has it in her
I
book,
know.
all right, okay.
I just think that there are things that we are still working on. And just-
Renee.
Oh. Sorry, my voice is usually loud enough, but I just feel that there are things that we are still working on that I'd like to continue to do. We're looking at doing a survey of the businesses in the town of Tiverton to find out what they feel the Economic Development Commission can do to help them. I'd like to stay involved in looking at, with the Harbor Commission, I'd like to see if we could get something going to see about the Chase Building, which is an asset that we have in town that is just sitting there doing nothing. I'd like to go ahead and develop another rack card. You know, we had developed one, and I'd like to do another that would sort of update it as we go along. We think that it's been just at the the thing that they just had this weekend, people were saying that people were coming in with the cards, so.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Brain fade. I know that I've been getting a lot of good information by attending the Tiverton I attend the Tiverton Four Corners meetings on a monthly basis. I go to the Chamber of Commerce meetings. Meredith Brower attends the Discover Newport meetings, and we are able to get all that information and figure out, what direction we need to be going, or if there's something we can be doing. And I just think that I've also been involved in both the North Tiverton Business Park Revitalization Commission and on the Zoning Commission. So I'd like to continue with those things.
Any questions?
Weren't you the driving force behind getting the gazebo removed?
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah. We got the gazebo re-roofed, and we still have some money in that grant, and I'm trying to figure out a way we can maybe get some electricity in there because.
It looks so nice lit up.
I know, it does, and it's just, and people, that is a landmark in town that everybody knows. People go there for graduation pictures, for wedding pictures, for whatever, whatever, and it's just been, it is an asset to the town.
You saved it.
Well, my husband and his friends saved it. That goes back a number of years, way back when yes, and we've just kept it up, so.
Mike?
Not a question, just Renee, thank you. I mean,
Oh.
being the liaison, I'm amazed at how much you do, and a lot that's not seen.
Yeah.
And it's just been really helpful. I think you've brought the EDC up to a higher level of importance in town, which it should be. And I know you have a lot more you want to do, so thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you from all of us.
Thank you.
And just being liaison for all of the other different subcommittees.
Yeah.
We spend a lot of time here, and
There are some weeks when it's really a lot of time.
there's a lot going on right now, and you're a part of a lot of it,
Yeah.
so.
Well, we
Thank you.
try to do our best, so,
We keep you busy.
yeah, you do.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion that we reappoint Renee Jones to the Economic Development Commission for a term ending 7/15/2028.
Second.
God, that sounds like.
Motion been made in second. All those in favor? Welcome back.
Thank you. I'm going to head out.
Planning Board, VA Lopes. Oh, there she is.
While VA is coming up, I just want to note that for anybody listening, we have a total of 5 vacancies on the Harbor Commission, so only 2 are before us. They'll be coming back, but we will still have 3 vacancies. So anybody who wants to be a part of the Harbor Commission, please see the clerk.
So Planning Board, term ending 7/15/24. How long is that term? Is it
3
full?
years, so 2027.
2027. Hi.
Hi.
So tell us why you'd like to continue.
So I have learned a lot. First of all, thank you everybody for having me. I joined the planning board, I guess, in an interim position last October, and I have learned quite a bit in my time on the planning board and realized that this is not a short-term commitment, as I've been learning the history of Tiverton from Rosemary and from Tricia and Dick and Janice and Stu. So I feel to continue to actually leverage that knowledge and stay the course to help us keep Tiverton great and work our conservative plan.
I've been hearing good things about you.
They're probably, well, hey, I don't know. I just show up and do what I'm talking about.
Any comments?
I have comments. As liaison to the Planning Commission, you came in and jumped in 2 feet, asked questions, continue to ask questions, valuable questions, bring a lot of valuable input, and it's a great, great board, and there's so much going on. It's really so important, and you've done so much work as a group, and you're definitely a valuable member of the board.
Thank you.
I've enjoyed the 8 months watching you grow, and I know there's way more that you can do.
Thank you.
I'm very pleased with our pick for you in the first place, so thank you.
Try
Do
to
I have a
overachieve.
motion?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion that we reappoint V.A. Lopes to the planning board for a term ending 7/15/2027. Can I also just do the second one, too? In one shot?
Well, why doesn't she come? She
Okay.
showed up.
Come on up, Trish.
It's,
up,
I mean,
Trish.
it's a reappointment, so.
They want to just reappoint you without talking to you. But I know why,
I'm not
but
sure, but
She's at every meeting.
Good evening.
Trish, why would you like to do this again? She doesn't know.
I did, actually, it's not that it's not that I want to, but, for all my time, in government service, the Conservation Commission, the Community Comprehensive Plan Update Committee, my terms on the council, most of you know that I have been saying for literally decades now, we have to do something about our overly complicated and completely obsolete zoning code. And luckily, at this point, the planning board has some funding, courtesy of the town administrator. We have a AICP certified interim planner who works with us, and we have a great planning board, and we're actually able to do that, to really work on the zoning code, to protect the town's future for the long term, to hopefully make this place a little bit more business friendly, and do all the things that we can do with our zoning code. And I said I wanted to do that, and I feel like I should kind of stick with it until it's finished.
Any questions for Trish?
So if I can continue
Go
my
ahead, you
motion.
want to do the motion on
I'm
both?
just going to make a comment. So I've known Tricia for a few years, and she's my mentor. She really is.
Mine too.
She, what she doesn't know about zoning and water and all the other stuff is, if she doesn't know it, it doesn't exist, in my opinion. I'm not blowing smoke, believe me. So she's a great asset.
All right, go ahead, John.
All right, so my motion is to reappoint V.A. Lopes, 267 Deer Run Road, and Patricia Hilton, 99 Peaceful Way, to the planning board for terms ending 7/15/2027.
Second.
Motion been made second. All those in favor? Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
both.
you so much.
Coastal Roasters, Lisa, you're here. So we fixed the date? That's all it was, right?
That's all it was. Yeah, it should be for, the Sunday the 18th.
Yep, tote. Any questions for Lisa? Go
You
ahead.
get a public hearing?
Oh, I'm sorry. Open up the public hearing. I feel like I already did that for Lisa, but anyone have any comments?
Do we need a detail then?
No.
No.
I'll close the public hearing. Do we usually have a detail down there?
We did last year, actually.
Yeah, because we had some problems,
That was the first year,
yeah,
but we did last year.
yeah.
And I think it was part of the process saying that I needed to have a detail.
Yeah, I think it was because there's several things that go on down there with the beach and everything, and there was a lot of traffic one year, and we just decided that a detail would be best.
Madam Chair?
Do we want to continue that?
Yeah, it's on here.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the sound variance for Singing Out Against Hunger, 1791 Main Road, Sunday, August 18th, 2024, from 9 to 1, and also the special permit. And if there is a need for a detail, Lisa can convene with the chief,
Subject to meeting.
subject to meeting all legal requirements.
Second.
Motion been made second. All those in favor? All right, Lisa.
Thank you, Lisa.
All right, now, we're gonna do RIDOT.
Sure.
Well, why don't we do 10A? Is Kathleen here? Brughelli?
Anybody from the Newport County Prevention?
I normally approve this without coming.
But yeah,
Oh,
it's discussion and possible vote to approve.
Those are
place-
purple flags I get yelled at.
Yes, it's the purple flags, the commemorative banner and flags in remembrance of 402 individuals who lost their lives due to opiate overdose. We do this every year.
Madam Chair?
Go ahead.
Motion to approve the request.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion been made and second. All those in favor? Now, right now. So I need a motion to bring 10F.
10E, so moved.
Second.
It's actually E and F.
E and F, so moved.
Second.
Without objection.
Motion been made and second. All those in favor? Hello.
Hello, how you doing tonight?
Good.
So, my name is John Fontana. I'm going to be the project manager of the paving project that we're doing here in the town of Tiverton. This is Steve Sutherland. He's the manager of project management at Rhode Island DOT. I'll give you just a brief overview of the project that we're going to be doing for you folks. We're going to be repaving 5 roads in town. We're going to be doing Main Street, which is Route 77. We're going to be I've already started, actually, I'm sure you've seen Lynch and crew around town. Will be complete on late September. We're going to remove the existing paving and replace with new, and Main Street also gets new curbing and sidewalk. We will be working on Riverside Drive. That's just a paving project. That should start mid to early July, complete late July. We're going to move on to Souza Road. Again, that's a strictly paving project. We will be starting late August, completing late October on that section of the road. Then Fish Road, that is a remove and replace the pavement. We'll be starting on mid-September and completing probably late October. And then we move on to Bridgeport and Highland Ave, which is a early October start and a late October finish. And again, that's paving, replace the existing paving with new. All of the paving work will be done at night. The shift times are 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. Detours will be in place during the paving. We will have signage to let everybody know where they need to go to avoid the work. You know, there will be some noise. The townspeople will have to just understand it's part of the process, but it doesn't stay there for a long period of time. It's constantly moving, so it's not like it's going to be in front of one person's house. It'll just be moving its way down the road. Emergency vehicles always have access to the roads when we're paving. Any townspeople that need to get to their homes, get out of their homes, you know, will always be able to. There might be a slight little delay, as long as it's not an emergency, depending on what the operation is going on that particular street at the time they want to leave. A sidewalk replacement, curb install, signage install, and we're doing a little bit of signal work in the town. That will actually be done during the day. And this complete paving project is slated to be done by the end of October of this year.
Any questions, John?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have 2. So obviously, we see the sidewalks getting ripped up. Curbs are already down there. That's great. Are you guys doing concrete sidewalks, or is this going to be asphalt again?
This is going to be concrete, all concrete sidewalk.
Okay. Because that was one of my concerns. I know on the opposite side of the road, it's all asphalt on top of what I think used to be concrete, and that kind of goes sideways real fast. And as we all know, or at least we should, RIDOT installs the sidewalks, and then they become the responsibility of the town to maintain them. So I'm glad to hear that it's going to be concrete, because that's much easier to maintain and will last a lot longer. My second question is, as it relates to Main Road, I know you're going to be doing this stuff overnight. You're going to put detours in place. We do have a handful of local businesses, and I want to make sure that there's been some sort of outreach. So, like, for instance, there's a restaurant right down the road. If you guys are going to be going by there, you know, on a Saturday or Friday night in July or August, that's going to obviously negatively impact their business. So what outreach has been done?
So we actually brought Jimmy Pratt. We have a 3-person business outreach team at RIDOT for that exact instance. So as we get closer to those businesses, we have flyers and pamphlets we hand out, both the businesses and residents. So if we haven't already, I'll check with Jim, but we'll get something out to them as soon as we can.
Cool, thank you.
We also have a featured product page that's currently online that will give your community, constituents, business owners information on a consistent basis. We actually have a project page, a custom contact list, and email addresses for this business or any businesses or people who might be here every 2 weeks, working with John, as well as the resident engineer on site, we update that page, and we send out an email to everyone on that constant contact list.
I noticed that you do have like it seems like a breakdown of what the whole project's going to be.
Yeah, so we brought a brief presentation, we weren't sure if. to
Yeah, if
share
you
that.
wanna-
Do we have a?
We can share with the council.
Yeah, if we could have a copy of it, and maybe we can get it up on our website.
Do
'cause-
you want to do it here? No.
It's basically what it is.
Okay.
It's just a little longer, like shortened.
I'll get a copy of it. You can distribute it.
Yeah, and if we could put it on the website, the town website, because I've been getting a lot of
An
questions.
example of what he's getting at is the woman that was just here before you doing singing out against hunger.
Yep.
She has the coastal
You
road
just
system.
highlighted
it.
Yeah, so she'll be,
That's why I grabbed the notes.
that's the day that you don't really want to be paving in front of our place.
We understand.
So to Jim's point, we have a website, we can share a link, you guys can put on your website if you'd like.
Yeah, that would be helpful. Because again, once you guys leave, no one's going to call you. They're gonna call us.
Absolutely. I gave Chris my contact information.
Yeah,
I gave Chris my contact information,
Okay.
so if that happens, just call me and
perfect.
we can work with everybody. We understand.
Rick
We understand
Rogers
that.
and I, we've been in contact a handful of times already. He's got my cell phone number, I have his cell phone number.
I've been watching them do the project in Little Compton, and it does go fairly quick. Once they come and they rip it through the night, and a couple of days later, after it's compacted down a little bit, they're having it over, and they're done, they're by you. So it's-
Highland Road, the entire length?
Yes.
Okay. Yes.
No, we're gonna skip the part right at the
No,
middle.
I had somebody asking about, there was mention of Evans Ave or
Part
something.
over here, listen.
So not the little one-way on the
Bridgeport
other side.
Road to Riverside, we're doing.
So it just goes to the Black Goose. It doesn't go to, and that will be changing down there to be one-way, correct? You're gonna change that island out to
Right.
be one-way on one side, one-way on the other side of the island, instead of two-way on both sides of that little island?
Right down here. Because you guys came to
I'll
us,
talk
or
to you
somebody
guys
came
about
to
that.
us
Yeah.
last year on that.
Yeah, I'll get back.
Because right now you can go like this, or you can go like this.
We'll check on that.
Did that make sense?
Yeah, sure, I got it.
And all the way to the bridge, right?
You'll understand when you see it.
To the bridge only.
Yeah, to the bridge.
It was kind of funny the way.
I do have one more follow-up, but
ahead.
I'll let everybody else talk first.
Does anyone else?
No,
Go
just,
ahead, John.
which, is it sections of main road or the whole main road from the state line?
From the highway, Route 24 to.
24. Bulgarmarsh?
No, Nanaquacket? Is it?
Okay.
Or is it the Bulgarmarsh?
Nanaquacket.
There's a break. There's a little bit of a break just before you get to Riverside Drive. There's a few hundred feet that's not getting done, because that's gonna be a future, all of that wall, that's the wall that is.
Yep.
And then it goes up to Evans.
Okay.
That's the.
Okay, okay. So it's gonna take care of that place where the water from, what was it?
Lens Pond?
Yeah.
So that will be taken care of. That's been the largest complaint.
And that was actually my follow-up question is, are you guys going to address the drainage issue that's, because right now it goes and it comes across and it gets clogged up going under the road, and then that's what leads to.
So they did
it
address
getting-
the drainage problem about a year and a half, 2 years ago, and the road has never been resurfaced.
Yep, okay.
So, but I do believe they spent a lot of time trying to fix that drainage issue. Not that it won't happen again in the future, it is what it is, but it's.
Of excited residents.
Good.
For sure.
Long overdue.
So did you said E and F were combined?
So they're both combined, because I didn't realize that Rick put it on as well.
Actually, you didn't.
Okay.
You did, didn't you? He's got Highland Road, Bridgeport Road, Souza Road.
No.
Right,
This
but
is,
this is green developments.
This is green development.
Oh, I'm
This is-
sorry.
This isn't, they're state roads, but it's
I'll bring it.
their
Pete,
responsibility.
is it-
Okay. I didn't
I'll
think
bring
they
up
were
the
gonna
date on
help
that.
us with this one.
Sorry.
Okay.
So, just so, because it is in conjunction with what they're doing. We did
Okay.
reach out to Green Development. They put the duck banks in from the solar farm to just
Oh.
up on Fish Road, to where the transfer station is. Not the transfer, the electrical grid station, substation. They will start paving in August, at the corner of Bulgarmarsh and Fish, headed, east, and then they will do Brayton. Fish is being done totally by the state, from their understanding. And they are going to do a milling of 2 inches on all of Bulgarmarsh and on Brayton, and they will resurface it. It's curb to curb, or the width of the road. I don't think there's curbs on that road. So that was one of our questions, was it just, were they just gonna fix the patch, or were they gonna fix the entire road? But we did get word back from them that they're gonna start on August 9th, that they have plans to do the entire road.
Great.
Do we have a timeline on what that looks like? Like, let's say they start August
Start in
15th. Are
They
they
should
going
be
to be?
done before the state's done with the rest of their projects.
Okay.
Because it's only Bulgarmarsh Fish to Brayton and then down Brayton.
Yep.
It's nowhere near the amount of work that they're doing.
Okay.
Are they going to be, do you know if they're using the same contractor as
That I
RIDOT?
don't know.
Okay.
That I don't.
That would be helpful information, because if Lynch is already bringing the equipment in,
I would think that they would, you know, I don't know how they coordinate those efforts, but
I can't say that I've heard from Lynch that they're working from Green, but I haven't asked the question either. It's not something that would just come up, you know,
Yeah,
unless
yeah.
I asked. But we're using
can
Lynch.
can you?
Sure.
I can have Rick ask as well too, but
Okay.
either way, we'll get to the bottom of who's actually doing it.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
I have a question.
Yes.
Bob coming in from Cross Engineering. Can you repeat the question about the Highland Road one-way?
So at the bottom of Highland where it goes to Bridgeport, Bridgeport Road, there's a small triangular island there.
Yep.
And right now it is two-way on all sides of the triangle. It was my understanding they're going to make the eastbound side one-way going east and the westbound side one-way going west. And that the Highland Road side to the bridge, that will be two-way.
That's correct. On the plans, that's what it shows.
Okay. All right. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I told you it'd be quick and easy.
Yeah.
I just need a copy of that if I can get it.
Yeah, no problem. I'll send it to you electronically.
All right, that's fine. Yeah, you can do it
Then
too.
you can put it up on your
All
website
right,
if you like.
be great, yep.
Town Administrator, Markham School Forensic Audit Receipt of Draft Report related to School Department Audit, and discussion and possible vote to approve additional scope of work covering audit services related to school payroll.
So I'm gonna have,
That's me.
make sure you come up. So we initially did this audit, and I know the terminology scares people that somehow we had something that we knew was gonna be found, and that's really not the case. It was more of an operational audit, and I think when we initially started this, because of the dialogue that was going around the community, whether it be from the budget committee, from the town council, from myself, from other constituents of the school system, parents, that the information that we were all receiving was somewhat disjointed and not always the same. So I think Markham had focused a lot of their energies initially to ascertain is, how is this working for the community as a whole? How does this process work? And I think that was the gist of what this audit looked like as far as the operations of how financing gets done for the educational system in town. It wasn't that we were gonna pick and choose, you know, specific invoices and try to determine whether or not there was fraud of any kind. That was not the intent. The intent was to try to get a collaborative way of how this community works as a whole, on how financing is done. I think Markham did a very good job of going through that process, speaking to the state people, the school system administration people, even some of their educational staff, ourselves, the school board. I think, I don't know if you talked to some of the council members as well. Some of the, well, you saw some of the interactions of the council members at various meetings. So that generated the PowerPoint presentation that you have in front of you, is to really what they saw, and their commentary is, it's also elicited as to maybe some of the things that they saw were glaring problems that really need to have some corrective action taken. And I'll let you.
I also would like to say that this wasn't started because we wanted to have a better understanding of how they worked, so that we would feel comfortable giving them the funding we gave them. And
That was the gist of why we
That
did
was
it.
the gist of why we did this.
Very good. Well, thank you, everyone, for having me here tonight. My name is Mike McShay. I'm a director in Markham's practice based in Boston. I'm representing the team that was a joint Providence, Massachusetts team that executed the work over the last couple of months. And as Chris laid out, Very succinctly, I would say, the original perception from a lot of individuals as we started the process was that we were in fact doing something forensic, which does imply something that we're specifically looking for, drilling down to find, as Chris laid out, looking for some specific type of errors or malfeasance. Whereas what we agreed upon was a different type of project and is laid out within the background information, which is on page 3. Talks about the initial phase, which was a lot of fact-finding, the interviews, as Chris had mentioned, review of documentation, and gaining an understanding of what the timelines are and what the process is, and doing some rudimentary work around flowing that out for the town to be able to see as far as illustrations of the process go. The other information on page 3 just talked about potential other work that could come as a result of this, if there was additional needs or areas where the town felt, a further drill down might be necessary. So those are the phases 2 and 3 that are mentioned. But what we accomplished together was the results of phase 1. On page 4, as Chris had laid out, the discovery interviews. On the right side of the page does break it out by school committee, town members, as well as the representatives from RIDE that we met with. And this was all to gain a collective understanding of what happens, when, who's involved, what information is reviewed. And the documentation that was reviewed is also listed off on page 4. So I wanted to stop there for a moment, and we realize that this report was issued as a draft. It's still being listed as a draft report, and it was issued in June. So I know a lot of things have transpired subsequent to when this draft made its way over to the town. So some of the information in the version that you have would have to be supplemented with the developments that have taken place in June and July around financing and final decisions that the town had made. So you will note if you do have questions, of course, I'm just trying to be preemptive as to that because we realize that we're not at a final stage with this and things have changed.
So there's another reason why it's still a draft. We did have a meeting about a week and a half ago with the school administration. There were some nuances in how this is drafted that the school administration had some issue with. I think as a group, we agree that the content or the focus that this report emulates is accurate. There's really no mincing of the words here. It is,
So what were the nuances?
Well,
No, I'm serious.
So some of the nuances were that, that the school department doesn't believe that, that information from the superintendent's office is not as, how would we say, it's transparent as what was alleged. Their belief is that they do provide information.
But if that's what the audit found, then
Right,
that's
no,
what
this
the
is,
audit found.
I don't have any issue.
You don't have to agree with it, but
No,
that's what we paid
that's,
for.
so we've given them the opportunity to create, or to not create, to proffer language that they think might, be different than what this is.
I don't
Whether or not we
agree with- I
agree to
don't
change
agree
that.
with that.
Well, we may not agree with that, and that's why I wanted you to see the draft report and the state that it's at, because I believe, and I think Markham believes, that this is really the way.
Well, this is what we paid for, what he
No, and
believes.
that's why, but I wanted to be fair and open that we didn't do this in a vacuum. We did not disclose this to them. We did. But I do think that their commentaries were,
Well, they disagreed with it.
they disagreed with some of the issues, and quite frankly, I think at the end of the day, this will be the final report. I don't see much changing at all, if anything.
John?
So I appreciate you adding that last little bit at the end. Because quite frankly, we as a council were exceptionally concerned, and we hired an independent body to go in and do this analysis for us. So, I mean, at the risk of sounding crass, I don't really care what the schools think. Like, we paid Markham to go do this work. It's Markham's report to the town council.
And I think Markham agrees with it.
Yeah, and generally my experience with that type of response, it's a separate document that they could prefer. It's not part of your document. It's
I think just to maybe bring some conclusion to that, as part of a professional services firm, we did offer as well that we would share the results of the report with the school committee
Well, that's-
and with the
that's good.
administration.
Totally
just to make
fine with
sure
that. I think that's great.
Yeah, to
I
make sure
just
that we
don't
had
think
all
they
the
should
facts
change it.
correct. Right, and really the discussions we had, there were some initial discussions previous. We just made sure that the definitions were clear. There was some confusion over what we were reporting, whether or not these were findings or observations. So we did add some clarity into this draft to make it clear that this is an observation, this is a recommendation, this is a risk. So I think it was really word nuance to get the definitions right and make sure the messaging was correct. We did speak and had agreed that by Friday that had passed, if there were any other questions that the superintendent of the school committee had, that we would hold having a discussion like this until they had a chance to provide any additional thoughts and feedback, and we did not have any, so at this point, I'm here just to represent the report as it stands.
So what page are we on?
Page 5 of the present.
Yes.
I gotta put the glasses back on for that.
Jay, did you want to say something?
Yeah, just quick. So as I went through this, it just sort of reinforces and recaps many of the things that we have known for a while and have expressed a great deal of concern about. A lot of it has to do with how RIDE works, how the funding works, all that. But it also shows to me, when we start talking about lack of transparency, lack of cooperation, to me it shines a glaring light on what was discussed at our last meeting, to wit, we need a charter amendment to require some of this stuff. And we don't need committees to meet in back rooms and have nice little discussions about this. It needs to be open, transparent, but above all, required in a document that the town recognizes. Now, I know some of the school committee members didn't want to hear that, but I think it's imperative and absolutely necessary, and I think it needs to get done now.
All right, so you want to continue? You're on
Certainly.
page 5.
Yep, and we're happy to walk through any,
Can I just say one thing?
any other questions
I
as we go
just-
through. Go
Like,
ahead.
I think that we definitely had issues this budget. We have issues every budget season. This was particularly painful. And there were a lot of reasons for that. I'm not pointing fingers at all. There were just a lot of different ways we were behind in funding. So I think we want best practice. We want to be open, to be transparent. So I think whatever kind of recommendations you're coming up with, I just hope that we're all open to that and we can look at that and we can learn. Because definitely the state splits the municipal and the educational funding, and we've kind of worked in vacuums in the past. And I think that we need to be transparent, and I think that the community really rallied this year, and they want transparency, and they want all of this to be out in the open, and whether we mandate reports or whatever, however that all works, we need to be in the same place, and we need to be in the same room, and we need to be looking at the same numbers and work this through, because it's, at the end of the day, the schools are part of our town as much as the fire department and the police department and every other department. So I look forward to your recommendations in hopes that it can get us to where we need to be.
Agreed. So I would say, I realize as well that the report has a lot of words on some of these pages, and we appreciate, it's time-consuming to get through. We're certainly not going to walk through, or I had no intention of walking through every aspect of it. I wanted to call out, when we're talking about what you just had laid out, observations are summarized on page 5, and from there, maybe as a guide, what I would suggest as you read through this is page 5 really ties to page 12, which are the detailed observations, and then from page 12 to page 13, it talks about the recommendations overall. So if you're going to, try and get the high-level summary of the report, 5 to 12 to 13 really gives you that roadmap, I think, of information. Everything else presented is either the flow chart, as we had mentioned, as well as some of the information in the other appendices, which talk about RIDE information and resources, as well as some information on schools, student headcount, funding, et cetera. So, yes, the main issue that we came up with when we talk about observations really was collaboration, and it was across the board. I think the commentary that you're making around the need for rigor and structure hits home. There has to be, beyond the chart, I would say, the roadmap or calendar that's put out every year that talks about meetings and the events that take place at the meetings. There are levels and layers below that of information and discussions where you need to have, again, checkpoints, touch base points, specific agreement, I would say, on what the information is, where it is. So getting to Chris's point on transparency and the president's point on transparency. The information, like anything, I could have information within the report that I'm presenting to you, but if it's not in a manner or format that's been agreed to, you might struggle finding what you're looking for. So transparency goes beyond just having numbers present. It has to go along with the concept of pointing people, directing people, folks that aren't routinely familiar with the process, the numbers, the math that goes into it. So that part of the collaboration and communication we would see as being very important if this is to be avoided in the future or any other events like this in the future. If you don't have agreed upon levels of detail, locations of where the detail is, the timing of when you're going to receive it, and then establish checkpoints to say, where do we stand, what's changed since we laid out the initial draft or the initial budget, what funding sources may have been altered, added, or deleted. You're going to have the potential of running into roadblocks at the end of the process that put a halt to everything, I think, as we saw going through this process. So there 3 points that we called out were forecasting, information, a lot of information is already known in advance to be able to look out to the next year. That information needs to be clearly shared, gathered, discussed, and agreed upon. The ongoing monitoring and communication just gets to the point I was making about when do we need to meet to talk about things that are at a deeper level than just docket item A, B, and C on that calendar. And then usage of one-time funds, again, stopgap measures is how we would classify that, and I believe during the process that you went through this June, July, that was another event of the usage of one-time funds to rectify budget issues. So the ongoing usage of things like that are difficult because you're just utilizing stopgap measures. So there has to be that agreement as to what are we going to do with the funds, when are we going to do it, and make sure that everyone's communicating, have we done it, has something changed? If you have that rigor built into the system, then you would have a better standing when you come to decision points that are built into the calendar already, as opposed to waiting until that event occurs to find out that we don't have the information we thought we had, or it's here, but we don't know where it is or how to find it. So I'll stop there for a second before I continue if anyone had questions.
Mike?
No, thank you for this. Have you any examples in Rhode Island where some or all of these recommendations that you make here in terms of the process, especially in format of documents and the like, is being used and is working?
I would say yes to the general questions as to being specifically prepared to render that information tonight. I am not, but obviously the collective team and leadership, especially within the state of Rhode Island, should be able to pull that information together.
Yeah, I
for
think
you.
that would be helpful to us.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, and I appreciate all the transparency that's desired and needed, at the end of the day, it's still a political process. That we have to look at all the competing needs and make a determination. So we could have the best process in the world, but when budget time comes, there might be things that come up during that process that we need to adjust what we're thinking. And, you know, and just, you know, the one thing that I was looking at page 11 in the second column, under budget process, the inability to meet educational objectives. I think that's also about balancing with what the town can afford. Because I know that a lot of what's in the current budget is because the superintendent has very high objectives. And that's where we ended up using a lot of the one-time funds. And setting aside ESSER, but, you know, certainly the surplus, end of the year surplus funding. You know, I think a lot of people, including we, were complicit with it because we said yes last year. And this year we said yes again. We can't keep saying yes to those types of things.
And just as a point of clarity, that was one of the issues that we had as we went through the initial phase of the draft, was that you're referencing page 11, Appendix A, which is detailed risks that are inherent in the process. So that was something we did clarify with the school department and the superintendent, that these are not specific deficiencies on page 11. These are the challenges that any department would face as they go through the process, and then the observations did follow. But you're 100% correct in the point and observations, but I just wanted to make sure that that was made clear as well, that we're just you know, trying to point out with the things that we're seeing, these risks are then increased, heightened, and greater susceptibility to stumbling across or upon these issues because of the current setup of the process and the, as opposed to a front loading of the process, it seems to be loaded all towards the end, and then there's a bit of a scramble to get everything where it needs to be. We did call out, you know, just to wrap on page 5, some of these things are to give some credit to the school department and the superintendent as well, of course. You know, highlighting non-negotiable versus negotiable spend. So again, information that might be present, but it's important to be able to call out and for everyone to clearly understand that their hands are tied in certain capacities with spends, depending on what it is, you know, contracts, as you've gone through tonight, school bus contracts, teacher contracts, fixed costs that are just built into the system that aren't part of really a budgetary process. So we felt that better communication of that, you know, helps set the stage for this is what we can control, so we have to focus our energies on the things we can control, which are the negotiable spends. And the remaining items, you know, I think we've already mentioned producing information at a level that's of detail that's agreed upon, again, and you know, set up a schedule where things are discussed far enough in advance to give everyone the chance to digest the information within the town, as well as I'll give a shout out to the discussions we had with RIDE, the information presented at the end of the report. There are some really good folks there who, when we met with them, had indicated they'd be more than happy to come to the town and talk about the information that's available on the website, how to navigate it, give basically a tutorial. They gave us one in their offices of where information is, how you can compare and contrast and find financial information and when you could find that. So
It's several years old, though.
It does
Like
go
2
back.
years back,
Yeah, it's
I
not
think
up to
is the-
current, but it is, you know, relevant in terms of being able to look at a forecast. So I would definitely recommend that being an avenue that you pursue. Yep.
So you mentioned a couple of times non-negotiable versus negotiable spend. I think that was part of our budget discussion, is trying to determine what those numbers are. Did you guys observe specific categories? Is there more backup to that, or is that the next phase in determining what those items are?
Right.
Because I think we lack a little bit of clarity around negotiable versus non-negotiable.
And I would agree, that was one of, that became apparent to be one of the issues, that the information is, the school knows what those are, they have that information, and I'm sorry, I'm referring to the school department as the school, but it's a matter of making sure that everybody it's again, you know, it's like, where's the roadmap to this information, so that we all know where to go, where to see that, so that everyone's understanding the position that they the school department are in. When we talk about the, and I know I just mentioned the two that were on the top of my head, which was negotiated salaries for the teachers' contracts, as well as the almost monopoly that seems to exist in the transportation industry for this area. I think there was an indication that there was really only one source that they were able to utilize for school bus transportation, maybe. But that cost is, there really isn't an alternative. So, again, having those discussions between the council and the school committee and the school department to say, this is what we need to know, you have it, can't we get it in some format that works for everyone so that we're all clear, we're all looking at the number at the same time and the same location. It isn't necessarily buried, and I'm not suggesting that it's buried intentionally, but there's a lot of information and a lot of numbers and statistics, and I just think if it was agreed that this is what we need, when we need it, and we're all on the same page, it would be a lot more conducive to the budgeting process once you're aware of where they're really stuck with spends.
I have,
So those are the two
I have a
I
couple
can
more
see.
too, if you're open to it.
I'm sorry?
I said I have a couple more questions if
Sure,
you're open
sure.
to it. So jump ahead to page 12.
Yep.
Budget process, number 7, talks about staffing adjustments as an observation. I think this is another area where through the budget discussions, every year the council's told we, had to let go of staff, and then come to find out, didn't actually let go of those staff. So was there any backup as to what you have observed on that this year outside?
Right.
Of course.
There isn't, because as Chris had mentioned, we weren't doing a lot of specific testing. This was more of an information gathering exercise. What we're actually talking about doing is a follow-up, which would get into that level of detail, which would
Okay.
be the hiring and payroll type of audit review.
Say no more.
That would drill down.
80% of their expenditures is payroll, so.
Right.
Yep. Last question I had for you is on the next page, page 13, under monitoring and communication. You talk about utilizing financial management software for more accurate reporting and representation of the data. What are they actually using today to manage their books?
You've got me on the spot at the moment. So I'm going to draw a blank on the name. It may be within the documentation, potentially within the flow chart. I apologize. I don't want to fumble and say the wrong.
No, don't. We can figure that out afterwards. But that's one of my questions, because that came up
Right.
during the budget discussions. Like, we've seen a lot of custom PowerPoints. We've seen a lot of spreadsheets.
Right.
I just don't know if there's a system that holds all that information.
And the problems, oftentimes, when you talk about systems, where there are vendors and providers of databases and tools that could be utilized. There's the off-the-shelf versions, there's the homegrown versions, there's the hybrid of those. There's different cost structures, of course, across the board. So some of them are going to be basic and I'll use the word archaic to some extent. Others could be very over the top and not necessary for what Tiverton needs to do. I think there's a balance to say, the process felt, as we had our discussions with the folks in finance and the school department, the process felt a lot more involved than you would want to see it. Maybe a little bit
Involved
more
means manual?
labor intensive.
Okay.
That plays out in our financial annual audit as well, and also plays out with the discussions that we've had with the treasurer's office, marrying in the same information, that it is not as modernized as it probably should be.
With all those, of course, come additional costs. Of course, you would have to consider what's the cost-benefit analysis? Do we have the right staff? Do we have the ability to bring something additional in or something more elaborate of a system in? I mean, it would have to be analyzed, and that wasn't part of, we don't want to make that type of recommendation, not having done enough of the legwork within finance and accounting.
So you may come out of this and say, you guys got to go buy NetSuite by Oracle.
NetSuite Lite? Yeah, no, it would be an
Because
application.
we had asked for certain information, certain data, and.
It was buried.
Well, we said to them, it should just be a push of a button, but it wasn't. They had to manually build all of those reports because whatever system they're using.
Right, has inherent limitations within it.
Correct.
Again, because as things get either purchased for purpose A or built onto for purpose B, purpose C might not be foreseen, and therefore, when it comes up as a question, you suddenly realize I need to collate a lot of data to get to that. And that takes time, and that can cause, of course, for everyone involved in the process, that can cause frustration and takes longer than everyone would like. And the age we live in, if it's not an instant Google search, right, everyone's like, what's going on? And we appreciate there's a lot of work that needs to be done for them to gather information. But that all does go back, though, to saying if there's an agreement upon the format and when we're going to get it, what we think we need, then that can be built in, even with the systems and tools that are in use, that can be built into a timeline to allow for it to be accumulated and prepared and presented, so that you have less one-off requests and more just routine expectations that you set for the process on top of the good process you already have. I mean, we're not here to say that the process isn't built out efficiently and effectively for circumstances as they tend to usually come, but then once things have changed with the financial landscape as the result of changes both in the economy as well as the post-COVID dry up of funds, then there's a lot of adjustments that need to be made, and that's where the rub comes in.
Any other questions?
Suggestion and a comment, and I'm not trying to adapt your document, just very specifically on page 13, number 11. It says open lines of communication, establish open and regular communication channels between the school district and the budget committee or the town council. I'm just wondering why you used or as opposed to.
Right, because it's an optionality for the town to decide who, given some of the changes, I know there's been changes in the process for how things are approved. It used to go through budget, now it goes to town council, but you could certainly opt to have some involvement or input, so we did leave it gray for that reason, that the town would make the decision.
Wait, our budget process is gray?
My recommendation is.
He wants it or.
You want it or?
Yes, it was intentional. We could certainly change it if there's an agreement that it should be within the auspices of just town council.
I mean, both, the budget committee has a role.
Yes.
We have the final decision-making. I wouldn't want, while we have a budget committee, I think it's important that they be as included as possible.
I think in the best of all worlds, if you had a budget committee that was getting the information as this process was supposed to be designed to do, and you had a comfort level that it was fair, accurate, and it's true reporting to the town council that you could rely on, and you put faith in that based on historical data, that it could be all. But because of the way it's been over the last couple of years, I can see why you would want it to be.
I could recommend or suggest that it could be to the budget committee for review. If we think about a typical delineation of responsibilities, they could review it. Town council has final decision or approval.
That's the way our charter is.
Right.
Yeah, and I'm not even thinking of from that level of detail. It's, I'm just reading this as communication.
And they should share it with all.
So if we say or, then we're cutting somebody out. If we're saying and, we're inclusive of all parties.
And those types of comments and feedback is certainly, that's a logical adjustment to make, and we can certainly make that. I can notate that, and we can agree to amend it to say and.
And then a comment following up on what Councilor J. Edwards had mentioned earlier. I think this actually does not support doing any type of charter amendment. I know we're going to have a public hearing on that. Because it's too complex for a charter amendment. I think our better route to take is a memo, in whatever way, shape, or form we decide at the end of the day to go forward, a memo of understanding with the school committee as to how to make this work. Because once you put it in the charter, if you want to modify that, it takes forever to modify it. And sometimes you can't if you put things into that level of a government policy, then you're stuck with it, and you can't follow best practice. So that's just a comment for my colleagues.
All right. Any other questions?
I have one. So we did phase 1.
Yes.
How much for phase 2 and 3?
Yes. Well, it would be,
Yep, so phase,
what would be phase 2?
What is it?
Back on that.
Actually
Yeah,
going in and
it's
testing the
written.
data.
Okay,
So
all right.
review the payroll, hiring practices, and things that related to employment.
Okay. And that'd be another 25?
Did we set that aside?
So we did set that aside originally, because we've really done no specific detail analysis of any really expenditure other than how these processes work. And employees are the lion's share of what the education system costs. It's about 80%, so between 76 and 80%, somewhere in there, of what they, so looking at those expenditures as it relates to, and I'm sure that it can be broken up by category, whether it's administrative, whether it's, you know, unionized, or how they're hired, what the process is, are they, you know, is there a scale? Who does the approval for it? You know, is there, you know, review committee? There are certain things that should be looked at functionality-wise to give the community a comfort level that their dollars are being spent in accordance to the way normal standard operating procedures should be.
So that's what you want us to improve,
I think that that's kind of what we're looking at as far
yes, correct. It's just to level set, so phase 2 was if there was something that we determined, and I say we, just because I'm here as part of the team. Yeah, if the town decided that there were additional areas to review, phase 2 would be a specific type of audit, which in this case would suggest it based on cost and expenditure be a payroll, HR hiring audit. The phase 3 is really if there was a problem that was found and the town and/or the school department or school committee said, we really need to look into this. That's a completely separate what-if, maybe type of phase. So there's no expectation necessarily that there would be a phase 3. But phase 2 was optional to say, after we go through this, what seems to be the areas we could look at? It could have been a governance type of audit. It could have been a vouching audit where we look at payments and transactions, or in this case, we felt collectively it would probably make sense to look into payroll and the hiring process and posting of positions and terminations to get some clarity around, I think, some of the questions that exist as to how many people are employed, hired, fired, laid off, recalled, et cetera. I think it would just be an opportunity to give that additional view and maybe clear up any questions that exist and again, look at process to make sure if there are areas where we could make recommendations that would improve it, certainly that would be an outcome as well.
So not the general ledger activities and the controls over fund transfers?
Correct. At this point, that could be something ancillary that would be considered. But again, looking at spend, it was initially determined that that would be the best place to focus attention next to make sure that the controls in place around all of those, ultimately the controls around dollars are really there, whereas the budget process, we collectively on the team didn't get a sense that there was an issue necessarily with the process of doing the budget, more so that there was an issue with the, again, what you've seen, the communication, we'll call it transparency, and not to implying that there isn't, but again, just presentation and forthright communications. So we didn't feel there were issues necessarily in the system itself. But we are here to advocate for whatever the town would like to see.
So the amount that the town administrator identified is only for the payroll?
Correct. That would encompass the process of identifying a position's need, determining its criteria, pay, scale, and then making sure that those criteria are all met in the hiring process. And again, just going to the identification of additions, terminations, changes to make sure that there's adequate control and transparency throughout the process around how much of the money allocated for payroll is going to payroll and where it's coming from.
And we have that money put aside already.
We do. I think when we originally did this, we set aside 100.
Right.
I know that we're into it for like 56, or somewhere in that range right now, or,
Yeah, I think it's 45.
45.
Hey, that's better than
I think there's-
56.
Really?
Is there I'm sorry.
I think the initial phase was 56. I don't think we've gotten the final bills yet. That's,
Okay.
so that would be the discrepancy. I don't think that 25 was the next phase of it. But I could have you quote the balance of that if you wanted to.
I think we need to do more than payroll
Me
myself.
too. Me too. I think we need to do general ledger activities.
And part of it is, I'm not looking for a smoking gun, but I think folks think we are. So I'd rather cover as much as we can to show that there is no smoking gun and put that to bed.
All right, we could certainly come back to the town council with
Do you all agree it should do more than just
I
payroll?
I think that we need to put it to rest because.
And do it all.
Right, I just, if it shows nothing, that's great. But I do have a couple of questions, though.
Sure.
How long would that take to do that?
So when we bifurcate the work, we would have the ability to potentially work side by side on these types of reviews. A typical process audit, if it goes by the numbers, is about 4 to 6 weeks from initiation of, what we call initial contact or initial interviews, through to the point where we would issue a draft report, as we had seen. And depending on the scale, that we would expect the payroll audit to be a larger endeavor. The other work would be more routine type of transaction processing and just verifying that it was done correctly.
It wouldn't be 100%, there's so much.
Yeah, it would be
Right, they
sample-based, but
pick
it would
a
probably
sample, right?
be similar because it is a little bit more, probably a lot more manual in nature. So I would say if we can run them concurrently, 4 to 6 weeks for the total effort, but if we run into scheduling or issues, people's, it's going to depend on availability of people within the school, of course, as well,
It
so.
should definitely be done before we even begin looking.
Well,
at
that's
the
my
next ones.
concern.
Right, well.
It should be done before then. Okay.
Right, well, it would be done. So another question I had, somewhere in here it talked about reports. Is that something that you would help us with? Like, these are good reports that could be shared between the schools and the council?
Oh, within this presentation?
Within this presentation or
Yeah,
phase
anything
2,
else.
wherever?
Certainly, yes.
It talked about reports and it talked about education to the people looking at those reports to know what's important. I know that I look at the municipal side and I'm comfortable with that. When I got the school ones, I'm not an accountant, and so it was more difficult for me to find information, and I'm not saying that it was hidden or it wasn't there. It was just more difficult for the non-accounting person to be able to look at those and know what we're looking at, know what's important.
I mean, we could certainly provide, I'm just trying to think of the right words to use. If not examples of other such processes from other municipalities, then we could take some time, I would say, to be able to provide some deeper analysis of what some of these recommendations are as we continue to go forward. A suggested addition to the roadmap that you already have, I think it's certainly something we could provide as well, which would give, it's a fine line between saying this is what you need to do from Markham's standpoint. Of course, we really can't do that, but we can point you to say this is, if it was us and we were looking at information, this is what we would want to see, how we would ideally have it laid out to us when we go through and do anything ourselves. An executive summary gives us a lot of the information we need up front, and then that ties specifically to information within the report. It could be something similar here where you say, again, here's discretionary, non-discretionary, here's one-time funds, here's new and planned improvements, whatever the initiatives are, summarize all of that, and then from there, you drill down into specific elements within the detail to say, and it could be an enhancement on what's already in place. So again, we don't mean to imply that anything that's being presented from the school right now is so insufficient that it doesn't guide folks, but I think there's just ways to better focus people's attention to where the numbers are and where the information is.
Right, and I think that's what I'm looking for.
Okay.
Not looking to point fingers, not looking to find anything, but just to enhance the process, to better define the process, to make it transparent, if you will. Just make it easier to follow so that budgeting can be easier and we can make sure that we're hitting our priorities within our financial means.
Understood.
All right.
Make a motion?
Yes.
Motion that we approve an additional scope of work for Markham School's forensic audit, covering audit services related to school payroll, and that we ask for an estimate be provided to the cost as to the additional work on the internal audits for general ledger activities, controls over transfers, et cetera.
Do I have a second?
Second. Discussion?
Go ahead.
So, thank you, by the way, for taking the time. I think this report has given me certainly more questions than answers, and hopefully answers come in phase 2. From my perspective, I think what I felt was deficient is just having been involved in town government. You know, I remember when we had, a whole different administration in the school system, and that was, 6-8 years ago, with a budget that was, well south of $30 million with $4 million in the bank. And then, obviously, it was a shock and awe moment for us this budget cycle to now suddenly be approaching a need of $40 million with no money in the bank. And so what I would hope to see, I don't know if this covers what you would look at, is where's all the money been spent over that time period? Has it been through things like the addition of services, through addition of programs? Because at least from the historical data that I've seen, and the administrator said that salaries are 80% of the budget, but over the last 5 years, the salary numbers have been ostensibly flat because they've had higher up the chain teachers retire and replace them with lower down the chain educators. And so if that number's flat and the budget is increased, in 5-6 years by a massive factor, I'd just like to know where the rest of the dollars are going, not saying it's wrong in any way, shape, or form, but I'd just like to know where those dollars have been expended, because, and the growth of those various categories. Because again, I can just anecdotally, my time on the budget committee, I had asked for trailing 5-year budget to actuals and then year-to-date budget to actuals. And when I received, at that time, 2 separate spreadsheets, they had an overlapping year, and the budget numbers didn't match up on 50% of the categories. So that was sort of my first red flag and concern. So if that gets into expenditures and then ultimately looking at what is the contract language, the buses are a huge one for us. So it could certainly lead us down a rabbit hole, but that's at least what I was hoping to see.
And if I can just tail on to Councilor Edwards, unfunded mandates from the state, and it happens across the spectrum, educationally and not. And if we could see where that is too, because they're unfunded, but they're mandated, and we don't know what that cost is.
Okay.
But it's certainly changed over the last number of years. It's increased.
So I have a motion on the floor and a second. All those in favor? Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike, and tell staff thank you. I'm sure I'll be back in touch with you.
No problem. And we did want to just express our appreciation for everyone, again, that made the time to speak with us and provide us the information from the council to the superintendent's office. We couldn't get the work done without cooperation, so we appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great to see you tonight.
Madam President, I'd like to make a motion to move item 10J to the top of the agenda.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion's been made in second. All those in favor? All right. Discussion possible vote to advertise proposed zoning amendment regarding IC section 15I open lot storage related to permitted utility projects.
I told him he didn't have to come.
Yeah, I
That's
didn't
why I
real-
moved it.
Mike was the one that noticed you.
We arrived at the same time. So I believe that this, I had the pleasure of re-listening to the tape of our last meeting, and Councilwoman Edwards made a motion, and I believe the changes in this ordinance reflect the motion that was made. So it is now limited, I'm just trying to find it. It's now limited to
18 months.
18 months as requested. It is also limited to GC and industrial zones with a PDP, no longer in any residential zone. And
60 days after
60 days
completion.
after did not change with the ability to ask for an additional 60 days, basically because of the weather condition, as Mr. Watson indicated. And it still has to have specific findings by the building official. And also, in store non-hazardous materials was also added to that as well. So I think it encompasses all the changes that were requested of the council. The next step is really to just advertise it. I think it's 3 weeks, and we'll have a hearing on that to decide whether or not to adopt it formally.
Madam Chair, motion to advertise and send this thing to public hearing in August 26th.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Okay.
We're just trying to help your bill rate to National Grid, you know?
No, we thank you, and thanks for your time and your attention to this matter.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great night.
You too.
Councilor Edwards, discussion and possible vote on modification of the community septic system loan program requirements.
Move approve.
Okay, so I added an explanation of what this is. So about a year ago, I became pretty aware that septic systems are becoming very expensive to install. And the average system that used to cost $15,000, $20,000, $25,000 is now in the $30,000 to $40,000 range. I called like 14, 15 different installers to find out what their take on this was, and they said, oh yeah, the average system is doing that. And in Tiverton, where you have a lot of ledge and other issues, it could be even more than that. So that brings us to the C-SLIP loan program, which the town lends people money to upgrade their septic system, typically at the sale of the property or if the septic system fails. When you sell your property, you have a year to upgrade the septic system if it's necessary, and that could, it will, fall on the new owner, the new buyer. With the cost of housing what it is now, on top of the inflated prices to just buy a house, now we have an inflated price to install a required septic system, maybe. I think it would be prudent, and it would not burden the town unnecessarily, to increase the amount that we would loan to upgrade a septic system. And we can do that on our own. We just have to do an ordinance, and we just have to let Infrastructure Bank know that we did it. The other thing we could do along with that is increase the term. Right now, it's $25,000, 10-year term. we
Does-
could increase it to
Good.
$35,000 and maybe a 12 or 15-year term. To increase the term, we would have to ask permission. So we'd have to send a formal request, and they'd have to say yes or no.
But it's not done through an ordinance, though, is it?
That's what they told me,
Who?
Infrastructure Bank, but however it gets done.
Well, but we have to figure it out, because. So right now, we have a loan agreement.
Yeah, we
that-
don't have an ordinance.
That we signed on to, and that agreement provides provisions on how it works. And incorporated with that is the standardized mechanism of how that procedure works, so.
With the maximum loan amount.
Right.
Is in the loan documents, we agreed when we, sorry, when we agreed, I haven't seen these, but this is one that we did a couple of years ago,
We
right?
did,
Just
about
recently.
a year and a half ago, so we borrowed at $600,000 at a time. It actually provides, and it's I will tell you, it's a very popular program, because we're gonna be right back at you probably in another 3 to 5 months, depending on how this works. It does 24 septic systems. If we increase it to 40,000, you're looking at 13 or 14,000, or 14 septic systems. So you're gonna diminish the amount of availability, and unless you want the town to expose itself to more liability. And that's what we do every time we do this. We expose the town to liability. Granted, it's a very good program. We have had one default that is working its way through the process now to contact it when it ultimately gets taxed. So the town will get some money eventually, but it's, not all these septic systems are at that rate. I mean, if you have to get one of these new bottomless sand Advantech systems with all the pumps and, yeah, they're $35,000, $40,000, but a regular ISDS system should be somewhere around $20,000, $25,000.
Well, that's what I thought until I talked to a few of them, and they say that even those have gone up, so.
Well, I'd have to look more into the process of how will we change all these rules. Some of these rules are set by around housing, some of them, I don't believe there's an ordinance on the books. The only ordinance on the books is.
Environment, wouldn't it? Excuse me? Be under environment?
It should be, but I believe.
No, we don't have, no, I don't
I believe
think
the
so.
only ordinance that's out there is the wastewater management ordinance, which created the, internally before it was adopted by legislation to be Tiverton wastewater district. We still kept, while they do sewering, the town is still responsible for on-site wastewater. Within that ordinance of maintaining those systems, there is some language that provides the availability for the town to adopt the community septic system loan program. But I don't think there's an ordinance that sets out the parameters of that. I think what is set out is the loan documents when we get the loan with the bank has all the criteria that's part and parcel of the approval process for that loan. Because the bank has an expectation on when they're going to be repaid. It's a 10-year loan at 1%. It's actually 2%, the 1% is paid up through Rhode Island Housing to the bank, but it's, the borrower only really pays 1%. So those particulars are all embedded into the loan document. They're not, I don't believe there's an ordinance that sets that out.
Well, so the person I talked to told me that, but that may not be true. But the takeaways were that we, the town, could change the amount, but we could not change the term. We'd have to get approval. We'd have to make a request and get approval.
Yeah, I'm assuming, again, I haven't looked at these documents in a while, I'm assuming that when this loan program ends, when we file the money, there'll be another tranche of borrowing.
There will be, we'll have to borrow more money.
We'll borrow more, and then I think at that time, we can look at some of the,
Because
but
if
I
we-
don't think the term, though, can change, because they bond that money for those terms, so that, but I don't know that for a fact, I'm not a finance
But
person.
that's why we couldn't change the terms.
Yeah, probably not.
But we could help less people if we,
We would help less people because unless we increase the borrowing to a larger amount of money, which exposes the town to more liability, you'd be dealing with a far less number of people. And then it becomes,
You'd help less
who do we pick and choose?
Right.
So,
Is it first come, first serve? Is it, is it based on some severity of the system? Is it?
So if they get 25,000, then if it costs more, they'd have to privately.
So the other thing that they're trying to do now, most of the constituents that are utilizing these loans, and they're allowed to do this, is you have to engineer these septic systems before you can actually construct them. You have to get approval from DEM. Those engineering costs are no longer cheap. When I did mine in 1997, for my other house, it was, I want to say it was 3,200. When I did the one for my house in Little Compton, it was 6,500. And I think some of those bills, and that was in 2012, I think those bills now are somewhere around 12,000. So those costs can be incorporated as part of your cost of that 25 grand. So there are exposures, there are costs to it, but it's not necessarily just doing the septic system.
So, the only reference is what you described as in Appendix C, sewers and sewage disposal, Article 3, private waste disposal, and then, I gotta find it again. But it's about financing, and it authorizes, I think it's 18.9. 18.9.11, which provides that we can, the town, under the authority of the state legislature, shall have the authority to issue bonds or notes and receive grants for the purposes of establishing a revolving fund. And there's other stuff in here too, but it doesn't set any amounts.
So do you want to do further homework on that?
Well, I can do more research on digging up as to how much money we can actually borrow against it, because while it is a revolving fund, when the 600 goes away, we go back and reborrow it. So it does revolve, and the payments come back and we pay it back to the bank, which is another aspect of the revolving fund. I can do more research to find out how much more money we can borrow to do that, and how much you would want to increase that loan to. But that, at what point does the town become subsidizing things that, at the behest of other, and I get where you're going with it, there are other needs in town that, I do think it's a very good program, but I'm not
But
so.
it's just helping more people.
But I'll look into it, I'll dig up the information, and I can bring it back to you.
so if that helps, you said like 40 homeowners.
24 for 600,000.
24.
24, how long does it take?
10 years they have to pay.
No, I mean, how long does it take for 24 people to sign on? Like, do we do that in a year? Do we do that in?
I don't have those numbers right now. I didn't have the time to go through all that, but I will say it is an extremely popular program that we will be back before you.
Do we have people like waiting in line?
We did last time. We had like 6 people waiting in line because the money did run out. So it doesn't take long for it, especially usually in the spring. After a wet, rainy season like we just had this year, we had a lot of people with inquiry to it.
John?
So I would just ask, Mr. Administrator, I don't know if this is you or maybe our solicitor. He points at you. With some of the recommendations or the suggestions that Councilor Edwards put forward, maybe we could find out if any other communities have altered the program.
I will do that. I'll look at that as well, too. Shockingly, I know Little Compton doesn't even offer that program, but you would think that they would. But I know there are other communities like Charleston that do it.
Narragansett, Westerly,
Narragansett,
like some of those more coastal communities that are kind of like us.
I'll look into it.
Okay. Yeah. Because if there's an opportunity to amend what we're doing and it's going to, be popular and beneficial and ultimately, help solve some of the water issues, which is the whole reason we did the zoning thing, then, let's look at that.
Okay, all right, we'll do.
Okay. Town Clerk Chabot, discussion, possible vote on authorization, insurance, and fees related to Class C liquor license in town, and any potential ordinance creation, posting and public hearing needed to said license, officiate said license.
So we did have a customer come in who owns property down in the Four Corners area. And they would like to open a business that is a bookstore, but they would also like to serve wine so that people can come in, they can have like little book clubs, and they can sit down and have some wine. So after researching with the DBR, the only class license would be a Class C liquor license, and they would be required to serve prepackaged food. So they couldn't cook on site and serve food, but they could have prepackaged food that they could heat up and serve, so long as they had food available on site. So it's a Class C. We currently don't have any Class C licenses in town. And in my handout, I have the list of current alcohol license fees and classes. And it gives you an idea. The first column is the class, the second column is the current fees we're charging, and the third column is state law, which has some minimums to a maximum that you can charge for a specific license. So we also have this also identifies what we require under alcohol licenses, what we require for them to provide in order to provide, to apply for a liquor license. So the question becomes, we have, in our local ordinances, we only have reference to Class A and Class BV, where we identify the number of licenses the maximum number of licenses for those particular classes. There's nothing mentioned in local ordinances for the BT and BD, I should say, sorry, Class BT and Class D. There is reference to the casino, the BC license, for their requirements. That was added as a separate section. So I need direction from the council. Before I have this person fill out an application and start advertising, I need to know what to charge them, and if you actually want to allow Class C licenses to be issued in Tiverton.
Mike?
So, Joan, did you say that they're required to have prepackaged food?
Yes, it's
So
part of Class C.
B doesn't, I can't find in this where it says they're required to have it. It says, I'm looking at that. It says the license authorizes the holder to sell prepackaged, and they may serve, but I don't see, and they can't cook, but I don't see that they have to have it.
That's part of in RIGL 3-7-8. That basically is a Class C license. They're defining it.
No, I understand that, but I don't see obligatory language that they have to have food of any type.
So this is called a saloon keeper's license. This is a Class C, saloon keeper's license.
Oh, okay.
And the notes to the statute said authorize, and I agree, I think it's just common, so I'm going to just read it. Authorize the selling of alcoholic beverages at retail for consumption upon the premises and permits the serving without specific charge thereof of such thing as popcorn, crackers, pretzels, sausages, pickles, potato chips, lupino beans. Specifically forbidden is the cooking of any foods upon the premises, although prepackaged food cooked and prepared off the premises may be warmed and sold on the premises. So it is a may, but I think generally it is
We've
may.
been
It's
through
not-
this
it's not-
before for
yeah.
something else.
So.
But I can't have anything but lupino beans and those other things?
Sausages and potato chips and.
Pickles.
Sardines.
Pickles, yeah, pickles. Bagels?
Sardines.
Pickles.
Oh, pickles, you said, they said bagels, yes.
Herring.
So the owner of the establishment could stop at Market Basket, pick up packaged sandwiches,
Yep,
bring them,
yeah,
Yeah.
and as long as they serve them,
correct.
you can have wine.
No. That's what I'm saying. You don't have to have food at all.
It's not clear from the I think.
From the statute.
I don't think you have to have food,
But I
but it
think
permits
they
them to serve it
advise-
if they want to. But it's,
Okay.
and I think it's the.
Right.
It's just, a Class C is a typical old-fashioned bar, where you go in, you have a drink, and you have peanuts on the
And
counter.
that's what we're talking about
Yeah,
here.
kind of, right. That's
But
what
do
the.
the people
Okay,
have
but-
to eat the food?
No, no,
Because I have been to places where they say you have to buy,
that's a B license.
you
gotta
have
eat-
to buy food, I mean, and it could be like peanuts or.
Correct, you have to, that's a B license.
But I want to talk, when Little Bear was open, and the restaurant closed at 9 o'clock, and the bar stayed open till 1. I can remember a huge conversation where they had to have food available.
That's because of the-
chips or popcorn or something.
That's because of the
from
license.
9 to 1.
Because I'm sure they had a B license, not a C
Rolling hot
license.
dog.
Is that because of?
I think it's, I don't know if, I wasn't here for that, but I believe it's because
No,
the
it's
type
I remember
there are
it
no
was-
Class C licenses in the town because we don't authorize them, so it's a B license, and a B license requires food.
Yeah,
to be
because I
served.
remember it was Andy Tights, that's how far back I'm going. But they didn't have anything available after 9, and we required them to have chips and stuff. And I remember that, so that's different than Class C. So Class C, you don't need to have food?
Prepackaged food, the question is whether you need it or not, is an
Well,
open
they
issue,
were
but
told they had to have it.
that's because it had a B license.
Okay,
So Mike, where does the alcohol come from?
They buy it.
yeah, they're gonna sell it,
So, I
From
mean,
a wholesaler, huh?
Or the owner buys it,
yeah, and sells
And they
it.
have to sell it.
you can't bring it with you.
No,
No.
no, no, no. Here's a question that I have, and I don't know the answer to this. Class C, I don't know if we can legally limit, once you give a Class C, to saying you can only serve beer and wine there.
Right, that was my next question,
Yeah,
because I don't see
So I
that
know
in
that
here.
Mr. Edwards, the fifth, might like a little scotch when he reads his book, so.
This is not for me. My
Oh,
wife's in the
just
book
check-
club. I'm just,
Just checking, just checking.
Let's make this
When you're
happen
reading,
for
like,
her.
Of Mice and Men, I know you want to have a little scotch. So I don't think, even though the owner suggested that he or she wants to just serve wine and beer, I don't know if we can legally limit
Yeah, I don't
it to
think
C.
we can.
So, I don't think we can either. So, that's one issue.
Where it is?
Yeah, the other thing is, and I printed out these statutes today for the clerk, and I apologize, she didn't really have a chance to discuss it. It also can't be within 200 feet of a church or a school. Is there a church there? Is there a church there?
Right up
That
the
would
street.
be close to 200 feet if it's that property that we were talking about. It might be a little bit less, a little bit more.
No, it's near Amicable.
Yeah.
Yeah, but 200 feet, it's gotta be
Well,
more.
I'm not a good at distance, but it's, I'm not a
Where
good
the
at
owner,
distance.
where the owner or the greater part of land within 200 feet of any point of the building files with the body or official having jurisdiction to grant, retailers B and C shall not be issued to authorize the sale of beverages in any building where the owner of the greater part of the land within 200 feet of any point of the building files with the body or official having jurisdiction to grant licenses his or her objection to the granting of the license, nor in any public building within 200 feet of the premises of any public, private, or parochial school or place of public worship.
So it's the building, not the property, though, because their property line might be.
Oh, yeah, their parking lot goes way down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Their parking lot's a good 100 feet. So if it's from the building, they're probably okay.
So they have to keep that in
You know-
mind
you
if
know,
they
when I
want
was
to add
reading
on to
this-
that building.
It only mentions, why does it mention beer in cans and only? Okay, because the way I looked at it is they could only, they telling me they can only serve beer?
No.
No,
Okay.
it's just letting,
But-
it's
but
making
it's
sure you
kinda
can
weird.
serve beer.
It's kind of weird, though.
I've got it
that
right
they-
here.
Yeah.
They wrote that.
Well, I guess because a saloon used to be probably just on
No.
Yeah,
tap,
because when
right?
I first looked at this, I'm like, oh, you can only have beer
Yeah.
there.
So-
Because they mentioned beer.
So what are we saying? If-
Madam.
If you
Yes.
did this, what kind of alcohol could,
Any alcohol.
any alcohol?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
I don't
fine.
think we could limit it.
So,
Making this up.
Why?
just
I
to,
mean,
just to
bars-
circle back to the whole food thing now, real quick. Class B licenses, it says that you shall have the sale of alcoholic beverages, the opportunity to purchase and consume food, and it's served on the same premise, designated for the sale and consumption of alcohol. Food shall be offered at all times that alcoholic beverages are sold and consumed on the licensed premises, unless the local licensing board grants permission to the licensee to stop the sale of food after 10 p.m.
I guess we didn't
But
stop
that's the
that.
required food versus.
Yeah.
Correct.
what we
That's a
believe.
BV license. So
I mean,
the
I
V,
don't-
the V is viculating.
We were trying to look at the
Victualling.
wording.
Viculating, sorry.
But does it really matter what kind of liquor? Like,
I mean, so let me just, to go full circle looking at this, there are some towns, including my hometown, that were given the authority to specifically not issue Class C licenses at all. And in fact, they converted all Class C to B licenses. And a couple other towns, I think it was East Greenwich and another town. So, again, Class C licenses are considered tavern licenses. They're basically I'm gonna call them bars. The old-fashioned kind of bar, you walk in, you have popcorn, you have nuts, and there's no food there other than perhaps prepackaged food, but there's no kitchen. So I haven't spoken to the DBR, but I think the clerk's office has, and this is the best license they think would fit in it. I want to talk to them more because I didn't see any regulations on Class C licenses within their regs. The issue is, do you want to issue them? They are limited to, the number that you can issue is limited to one license for every 1,000 people, believe it or not.
16.
So. Up to-
17.
Up to. So you could say you only want 5, you can only, whatever you want, but you can limit the amount as well.
So what do you need from us today?
Just a little guidance, as to, are you even interested in going forward with this? If not, that's fine too. Right now, we do not have any.
I see no I don't have any.
We don't have any ordinances on the books that authorize us to issue a C license, so we have to change the
I
ordinance.
mean, they could have a vending machine, right, and have chips
guess.
and,
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, that would cover,
Well, it's a new.
No, they
business.
have to offer it without pay.
Without charge, you have to do it without charge.
Oh.
Yeah.
food without charge?
Yep, because they want you to not get overly drunk right, while you eat your chips.
Yeah.
They want you to fill your stomach.
Or your Lupino bean.
You're drinking your beer.
Madam Chair?
Yeah.
They're not bringing ground.
So I think we kind of get a consensus, we want to do this thing, so I would suggest
I won't say consensus, but I'm not going to block it.
a $400 fee would be my suggestion. You know, we're kind of close to the other ones, and if they have to purchase food and, you know, prepackaged and all that stuff, let's make it accessible. What other information did you need?
How many licenses do you want to have? How many?
Full freight, baby. Let's get a bunch of these going.
No, let's do 5 for now, and then if the need happens, we can always increase it, because we've done that before, am I right?
How about 6?
Why 6?
Even number.
The last time we increased them, we had to because we had overindulged.
Yeah, but we did increase it, though. You want to do 6?
Yeah, it's round number.
Oh, now it's 6.
Okay.
So 400 plus advertising, like the
Yep,
others?
correct.
We need to check with the 200-foot radius. We want to go through this to see
Yeah.
first. All right.
I do have a follow-up question, too, after we, I guess that's my motion.
There's a lot of these.
You get the specific.
But, I mean, just recognize, this is just one concept that this person is putting
Right,
forward.
right.
You're opening it up
Right.
to
That's my
a bar. Everybody wants to just start a bar, they can do that. So just, they can, if they want to open a bar tomorrow with a Class C license available. I don't know, I'm not a big drinker, so I don't know.
We're going to
bars
public,
here in
we got to go to public hearing. This is,
No, we don't. Where do we have a bar in Tiverton? Just
You
the
might have
bar.
clubs, which is a different license.
Well, the VFW just has a bar.
That's a
That's
club,
club.
different
But that's a
license. And that's a members only, not open to the public.
They open to the public. I'm trying to think where else we just have a bar.
I don't think we do.
I was thinking like the VFW, when there's something on Bay Street.
The Ponza, that's a bar. That's a club. That's a restaurant.
But they have a bar on one side.
The Ponza? You mean the old Ponza?
The old one. The Atlantic.
The Atlantic, that's a
No,
restaurant.
that's fine, that's a
The
restaurant.
bar's part of
Over
it.
the hill, going down towards the water.
So I
Oh,
just, in fairness, I mean, we'll write the ordinance for you guys to consider, but just
Bayview-
recognize you can't,
The Bayview Club.
not, this concept of a library and drinking is just not, a Class C is a tavern license, which
All
allows
right, I
someone to
think
have a
we should
tavern.
do 2 for now.
And do we restrict this zoning wise anyway?
Well,
Yeah, is it restricted?
Yeah.
well, I don't know, what's a bookstore, it's retail. So it's retail with liquor, we don't really, our zoning really doesn't have that. It's an interesting concept, it's done in other cities, I just don't know.
It's done in a lot of
Yes,
other
yes.
cities.
It's pretty popular.
Yeah, it's pretty
So
popular
it
too.
is, so it is restricted to where those businesses can be.
Well, it's
Yeah.
retail, right, zoning would say this is a retail bookstore, I would
Retail,
assume that's,
Commercial.
Village commercial.
Village commercial.
But I don't know, liquor is a
I
different
think
story.
6
Did-
is
did
too
they break
much,
it down?
John.
Yeah, Four Corner Grill,
I think we should say lower.
right?
why don't we, how about,
How about we just draft it
draft
blank?
the ordinance,
Okay.
and we'll leave the thing
the
blank.
blank, okay.
So anyways, do you need a full motion?
No, I'll
Okay.
draft an ordinance for you guys' consideration, but
I do have one follow-up question.
Do we have to do a public hearing?
yes.
Yes, eventually.
We're not passing anything, we're just
Yeah.
instructing.
On the printout that the solicitor gave to us,
The clerk gave you that.
well, the clerk from the solicitor, or however it went down.
No, I don't think it ever went to the solicitor.
Second page, section 6-9, number of licenses, says for Class A, there should be a maximum of 3 licenses per state law based on census. Our census has obviously increased. Is the census the driving factor, and is this ultimately okay, so hypothetically speaking, if we could have Oh, wait, state law maxes that.
No, yeah, but we limited it.
Class A is a retail liquor,
Yeah.
like store.
That's
Yeah,
about-
that's my question.
We're limited,
Three.
based on your population.
They'd have to
Six-
go over
it's-
20,000.
It's 1 per 6,000, I believe, or something, it's close to that.
Okay.
You have three liquor stores in town?
Yes, they do.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, we definitely have.
Yeah, we want, right?
Correct.
Yep.
And that's issued by, that's checked by the state.
Because I remember someone who was interested in opening one, and we just said no.
Bring them away.
Yep.
So we will draft the Class C license and for your consideration with a number of issues to be blank.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, Police
8.
Chief Jones, finally. Discussion possible vote on approval of dispatch area specification to go out for bid. Am I right?
He's bringing backup.
Why do you have all this back?
He's bringing backup.
Each have two roles.
To be considered backup. He's only,
He's your backup.
he's only,
Good evening. This is just, so we've been working with an architectural firm that specializes in public safety complexes, buildings, and specific upgrades. So in working with them, we're doing a very small scope to our dispatch center. And just as a reminder, this is completely paid for out of the $500,000 grant that we got from the Department of Justice.
Yep.
So this has been a work in progress, probably the better part of a year, but now we're at the stage that we can actually go out to bid for RFPs. So this is just permission to advertise to get a contractor who is interested in doing the work.
So moved.
Second.
Motion been made second, all those in favor? Thank you. Quick. Jim's
Can I just,
You have the money.
Exactly. I got lost when the council vice president was talking about pickles, books, and
The
alcohol.
PDB.
I just want to ask,
Yes,
so the dispatch center right now, is it going to stay right there? Is it going to be bigger?
It's going to
I
stay,
can ask this
it's going to
question.
stay right there, ma'am, it's just going to be bigger.
Say
And
that- okay,
because
good.
of the grants that we received for the radio project, it's going to, we've been holding off on installing all the brand-new radio consoles. And it's going to be, and I know all of you, if not most of you, have been in there. I have better countertops in my garage than we have in the dispatch center.
Right, and it's
So
just so small. and
Exactly.
It was probably made for one person.
it
and-
was. It wasn't made to be a dispatch center. I mean, and we've had different iterations of upgrades, but this one is going to be a true console, so the dispatchers will be able to run police, fire, EMS, and hopefully with this radio project, DPW. So we want to
Stretch their
incorporate,
legs out and, yeah.
have an actual console that, you know, if I'm shorter or taller, it actually moves, and I'm not banging my knees under the desk. Yes, that's part of this project.
Okay.
Good.
Acknowledgement of Department Accreditation, me, sir.
So with me is Lieutenant Brian Palagi. Brian Palagi is the Division Commander of the Planning and Training Unit, and he is our accreditation manager. So I thought it was important to bring the lieutenant. As you know, this is a reaccreditation. We were first accredited back in 2020 with a different accreditation manager, but as you also recall, that was during COVID.
Yep.
So there was a lot of, I don't want to say it was less difficult, but there was a lot of leeway given to us back then, given the COVID pandemic. This one was definitely more comprehensive because now a lot of the things that we didn't have because we didn't have proofs for, we should have this time. So this accreditation process was exponentially harder because we had to show proof that, all right, you've already been accredited, so now you know. So now you have to show proof that you know, and you're putting these practices into play. And it would not have been possible. This is the accreditation manual that we, that is from the state that we have to prescribe to pass accreditation. If not for Lieutenant Palagi, we would not be accredited today. And I say that because he has been the conductor of our orchestra when it comes to the accreditation process. Working with the command staff, working myself, the deputy, the community. We had a community meeting, we had call-ins, taking proofs, working extra hours, working with the accreditation staff. And just for the record, your police department, this is a reaccreditation. What it does is it's basically a stamp of approval that your police department does all law enforcement best practices. And also, in the event of any sort of lawsuit or any potential police liability, the town of Tiverton, where it would normally be a liability co-share from the town, if we weren't accredited, we will now get $2,500 from anything from a motor vehicle accident to a police liability case for legal representation. Without accreditation, it's $50,000. So there is an enormous savings to the town. It also professionalizes your police department. It is essentially a how-to manual for your police officers, your dispatchers, all your law enforcement professionals. Everything from how to handle an arrest, to write a search warrant, to that we have to make sure that the generator goes off every Tuesday and show proof that the generator works and goes off every Tuesday to test. It is exhaustive, it is comprehensive, and like I said, if not for the lieutenant pulling it all together, it would not have happened. So my congratulations to him for making this happen, and clearly, the sole responsibility for us getting accredited this time around goes to Lieutenant Pelagi.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do they do a site review?
They do.
Okay.
And it was, like with anything, and I'll speak for the lieutenant, he has a lot of courage when he deals with law enforcement issues. He's a member of the SWAT team. He is also the senior instructor for lockup or defensive tactics for the Rhode Island Police Academy. So he teaches police officers how to ground fight. I can tell you, he was pretty nervous when these people came in. So, I mean, it was like stressful. We had to make sure that we got him coffee and donuts. You know, we had to make sure that lunch was all set. But yeah, he was pretty nervous when they came. Exactly. But we got through it. And how it works, there's a main accreditation manager, and she has assessors from across the state. So we had an assessor from for Middletown and Woonsocket.
Do they give any recommendations for future facility changes?
So
that can be used in the project?
I am sure that they would. One of the biggest things that we had to deal with, that you bring that up, and the lieutenant can speak to this as well, storage. So the thing that was holding us back up until a few hours ago today was how do we deal with evidence storage? And evidence storage is one of the bigger things that gets police departments in trouble. Where is this gun? Where is this money? Where are these drugs? And given the fact that we have an internal evidence room, we also have on-site trailers because we just have so much evidence overflow. And when you're doing that, the tracking system doesn't change. We're still responsible for that piece, but now it's falling off that one small evidence room that is as old as the station. We have and one of the bigger issues are weapons. We have a lot of firearms that we seize that we hold on to, whether it's a domestic violence case, a criminal case. What are we doing with them? So, to your point, sir, when it comes to storage and the site and the facilities, we've clearly outgrown the police department. There's no question we have. And we are making arrangements, but we have to work harder and show that you're in the building that you're in. We're gonna give you this accreditation, but now you have to take even more steps to make sure that you're in compliance because of your lack of storage capabilities.
And they passed on the cells?
What we do with the cell blocks, so this is state accreditation. So when we have, it's not like it used to be, and I can say it that way, that we try our best not to put people in there for any longer than 8 hours. Whether it's utilizing a justice of the peace, during the week they get sent to court, or the officers in charge have the power to misdemeanor release someone. They can release someone on site. So, because as you're all aware, we put someone in that cold metal box, liability just goes through the roof. So with that, the OICs are responsible for doing face-to-face checks of the people every 15 to 30 minutes and depending on what the situation is, if they're under the influence, what's the circumstances that led them to being arrested and held, we have to keep track of that. They're on camera, the dispatchers do that, and then the police officers have to do a face-to-face. The difference between, we have state accreditation, there's also national accreditation, which I believe the Portsmouth Police Department just received. Middletown, state police, but these are organizations and communities with newer facilities. They're required with national accreditation is the in-custody requirements are extraordinarily stringent. Something that, given our current facility, we couldn't pass. Unless we got cell attendants, or we hire and train people, or put police officers there, take an officer off the road to basically sit in front of someone and be like a cell block attendant to pass that accreditation, which, given our facilities and the resources, is just, at this time, not practical. So any future community police complex, we could build something like that in, so we could, because It would definitely be a goal, and I know the lieutenant doesn't want to hear this, but I'm going to say it anyway. I would love to get national accreditation for the police department.
He's quitting.
Well, I mean, you know, when it comes to Portsmouth and Middletown, it's like, come on, we're as good as those guys, if not better. But right now, the big holdup is, and I know Portsmouth, they had like a team. And when it's national, it's not someone from Middletown and someone from Woonsocket coming down. They have national assessors that come to your facility, and then they bring you across the country, and then they have a ceremony like once a year. And with national accreditation, it's a lot more standards, but this is a great stepping stone. It'd be something to talk about once we get our facility.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you. Good
Thank
job.
you, yes.
All right.
What else we got?
Jack Byrne. You got the money?
Byrne Jag.
So this one's for $7,585, and I'm requesting that we purchase upgraded traffic enforcement radar equipment.
Madam Chair, motion to approve the purchase of the radar units.
Second.
Any further discussion?
These are the radar guns that you use?
Radar and moving, correct.
Okay.
Motion been made and second. All those in favor?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lieutenant.
So we're going to table K and L
Until August 20.
until we come back.
I was just going to say.
Until we come back from executive session. So now, second executive session. I'd entertain a motion to go into executive session. Town Administrator, Rhode Island General Law, Personnel, Job Performance, Annual Evaluation for Police Chief Patrick Jones, notice given. Town Administrator, Personal Job Performance, Annual Evaluation for Deputy Police Chief James Costa, notice given. Town Administrator, Rhode Island General Law, 424658, collective bargaining, discussion, possible vote on IAFF Local 1703, Tiverton Fire contract negotiations.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and second. All those in favor?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Can we just go in Chris's office and get it?